So, in a move that, well, surprised no one, turns out the Ukip campaign launch turned into, well, shit show wouldn't be the word to describe it, but I think it was probably worse than that, but I can't think of a word that's worse to describe it. I generally can't think of it. And in fact, it was so bad that this is politicshome.co.uk.com. This is one of the places where, you know, you go if you want a good political analysis of something, of people who know what they're talking about, and you want to understand politics a bit more in depth from, you know, experts. This is where you go. And this I don't know, omnishambles, to coin, you know, Tucker Carlson, not Tucker Carlson, Malcolm Tucker, that's it, to borrow the word from Malcolm Tucker, is an absolute omnishambles. So, UKIP candidate brands Labour MP Jess Phillips a bitch and doubles down on rape comments at chaotic campaign launch. And I've seen the Channel 4 video, and I tell you now, they don't look good. There is no way both these guys, shall we say Mr. Benjamin and Mr. Meechan, come out looking anyway in a positive light. So, in comments defended as, quote, free speech by UKIP leader Gerard Batten, MEP hopeful Carl Benjamin doubled down on a tweet sent in 2016 where he said he wouldn't even rape Labour MP Jess Phillips. Launching the party's European elections at a press conference, Mr. Benjamin, a YouTuber who is standing for the party in southwest England, blasted journalists quizzing him on the controversial post. So, first things first, you can't really get angry at journalists asking you questions. That's their job. This is what they do. Now, you can argue that maybe journalists don't ask the right questions, or that maybe they don't ask enough questions, but this is what they do. And if you've made comments like Carl, or shall we say Mr. Meechan in the past, then yeah, you're going to get quizzed on them. You're going to be asked, why did you ask those comments? And here's the thing I've been very interested to hear. A little birdie has told me that apparently shall we say, quote-unquote, the debate that I had with Dankula, Mr. Meechan, apparently contributed to his appeal being pulled. So, well, if it's true, then that's definitely one up for me, because, you know, well, we'll see what happens. I'm sure the full report will be released soon, but I'll be very interested to find out if that's true or not. So anyway, it continues. He said, I wouldn't even. That's not a threat. It's actually just offensive, he told reporters. I'm not going to be apologising for my crimes against political correctness. How is that political correctness? You basically sent a really random rape tweet to a Labour MP and then was surprised at the reaction you got, calling he basically a garbage human being. And I'm sorry, but that's what Mr. Benjamin is at this point. He's an absolute garbage human being. And I'm ashamed that at one point, I used to like that guy, I used to like his content. And I generally think back to like why I used to like his content, and I can't think for the life of me why. But there you go. The video blogger added, I don't think there's any difference in how you should treat a man or a woman, unlike the establishment, unlike our judges, who literally say, if you're a man, I would send you to jail. If a woman is being a giant bitch and laughing about male suicide, I'm going to be a giant dick back to her. Any questions? It is unclear what comments about male suicide he was referring to. And we'll get into that in the next video because it looks like Sargon's got some legal troubles heading his way for those comments. And that, by the way, is the third different reason Sargon has given for that tweet. There is the explanation he gave in the Sunday Times originally. There's Matt Dillahunty, and I've got no reason to suspect why Matt Dillahunty would lie about that conversation he had with Sargon. And now we've got this apparent reason that apparently she was laughing at male suicide when he cannot produce these tweets. So, here's the thing, guys. That's not freedom of speech. That is, I can't remember if it's libel or slander. I can't remember which one's written, which one's said. But yeah, so Sargon's got some, shall we say, interesting legal things being sent his way, probably. So we'll see how that develops, but that's for another video. Yes, meanwhile, Mr. Batten was quizzed by Channel 4 on whether he was willing to be associated with such remarks. And here's the thing. You should distance yourself from people who say stuff like that. The Ukip leader replied, "These gentlemen are free speech merchants." They're definitely merchants in something, but not free speech. Because as has been so often pointed out by these two will stand for free speech when it's someone they like, but when it's someone they don't like or they disagree with politically, even if these two people claim that they are quote-unquote leftists or classical liberals, why then do they not align, politically and ideologically with people on the left, and instead they go running to defend people on the right when there are people on the left who I've sent lots of things, I've even said this to Count Dankula in our conversations, why are you not defending people on the left when their freedom of speech is infringed by people on the right or other such organisations? You know, there's a double standard there, and these guys aren't what they claim to be. But there you go. So the Ukip leader replied, "These gentlemen are free speech merchants. They've been comedy acts." Still doesn't excuse if you just say, "Oh, it's comedy, it's just a joke." It doesn't excuse it. It just makes it even worse. If they make jokes as part of their act, I'm not condoning any jokes, but this is what they are. Do you realise how few people watch Channel 4? You're an endless stream of left-wing political correctness. So as BBC News pressed the question, he replied, "That's all you want to talk about. Our country's future is on the line, and it's all you can talk about, and the vast masses of people out there could care less." No, you are putting people forward to stand for political office who have made outright disgusting comments and then excuse these comments, and they themselves try to excuse it as, "Oh, it's just a joke." You can't cut it that way. You know, it doesn't matter, because sooner or later you will give, offence to someone. And sometimes there is a legal consequence for that offence. And I fully believe that in many cases there should be a legal consequence. For example, anti-Semitism. I'm fully in support from people who go out and attack people and, verbally and racially abuse people. I fully support there being laws to combat that. You know, apparently Count Dankula doesn't think so, but I think that's because he wants to go out and tell racist jokes. On my conversation with him, he asked me whether I thought he was a racist, and I still think I don't know. But the fact that he goes around and tells, you know, rape jokes and, you know, bandies about, well, he hasn't said it recently because, you know, I think he's scared of being, you know, caught out again by it. But there you go. And I quite frankly look for, well, to be honest, let me tell you it's probably going to happen. They're probably not going to send him to jail. That would be a waste of time. What's going to happen is he's going to be brought into court and said, why haven't you paid it? He's going to do his usual thing of, I refuse to pay. They're going to go two things. Okay, I'm going to increase the fine, pay it or else. He's probably going to go, again, not pay it. He's then going to, the court, shall we say, then going to turn around and go, okay, Mr. Meechan, I'm going to send around court-approved bailiffs to basically take that money from you. He'll probably lose his computer and whatever else possessions he has to essentially pay off that fine. That's probably what's going to happen. And yeah, when people make these comments, you have, you know, the journalists have every right to question why are you going to stand behind these people? And what's funny was Channel 4. If you watch the Channel 4 coverage of that, they asked one of the Ukip women who was there, and they actually caught her in a very interesting trap. Because this woman has been going around saying that you've got all these rapists coming over, and that rape is a very serious crime, and that we don't take it seriously in the country. This is her actual comments that she has made in the past, and yet she is fully willing to share a stage with two people who are quite willing to joke about rape. So there you go. But like I say, I'd fully, shall we say, recommend watching that. Her reaction's rather interesting to it. So, responding to the latest remarks on Twitter, Miss Phillips, the MP for Birmingham Yardley, said, Carl Benjamin will forever have whatever career he has defined by me. He will hear my name wherever he goes. His whole life will be defined by a little feminist Jess, and that, my friends, is comedy. The comments came as Mr Batten dismissed the new Brexit party set up by former UKIP leader Nigel Farage as a one-man dictatorship, rubbishing his Eurosceptic rival group as Tory light, because, well, because that's what they are, that's what UKIP have always been, the hard-right Tory party. Mr Batten shrugged off the polls showing the Brexit party taking the lead ahead of the EU elections. If you think I'm going to stand aside for someone on a personal ego trip, the voters can forget it, he said of Mr Farage. They've got to make a choice between a real party or a phony party. He doesn't want a proper political party. What he's always wanted is a one-man dictatorship where he gets to decide what's going on. That's why he hasn't got any members. He has subscribers. It's why he's going to decide all the candidates personally. I'm not going to disparage his personal ability, which I have never underrated, but I don't believe that he is a genuine party or wants the real future beyond this election. And, you know, and these comments, they are going to get... UKIP have already been absolutely lambasted by these, by standing these two guys, and this is why you don't stand people like this. This is why it is really worrying to think that, you know, these guys are standing for political office. Now, they're not going to get in, because Dankula's standing in Scotland, which has never, I don't know, it's only once returned a UKIP candidate, and he's like 5th. So for him to actually be elected, he would have to, I think UKIP would have to take something like 90 or 95% of the vote for him to be able to get in. And I think it's the same for say, Mr Benjamin as well. But there you go. That's what happens. You know, there is no career, well, there is for these two, but if their popularity ever disappears or anything like that, they go. And this is why you do not want to be a YouTuber who is basically an internet shitlord, because you will scare away potential friends and allies, and when you're in trouble, no one will want to side with you. And here's the thing, all these guys who banded together to attack the, shall we say, the SJWs and trigger the libs, what's happening now? They're attacking each other, because that's what they do. They constantly attack. They don't care about policy, which is what really matters. You know, they claim to be quote-unquote liberals, but they don't seem to care about, you know, the hard right policies that Ukip seem to be pushing, which, again, if you are a liberal, as most of these two claim very often, then why are you members of Ukip? Why are you even standing there? But, you know, there you go. That's, you know, let this be a lesson to you, ladies and gents. Being nasty to people and being, you know, making jokes at people's expense and, you know, joking about, you know, really, you know, horrible subjects doesn't get you doesn't win you many friends or allies. And eventually, you know, because you have to be more edgy, you have to be more edgy than the other guy to get, you know, to get your edgelord out there-ness, to be the sharpest, shall we say, tool in the edge. Sooner or later, you've got to start cutting your competition, your friends. And all you do is you end up as one big bloody mess.